They say temptation begins quietly. It doesn't announce itself or demand attention. It moves softly, gradually, until one day you realize it's right there, breathing beside you in the silence. That's how it happened to me. That's how I ended up standing outside my boss's bedroom door just before midnight, wearing only a silk robe and a heart full of emotion I could no longer deny. My name is Amber. I'm 25, single, and working as a live-in nanny for a wonderful family in Miami. Vanessa, the mother, is warm and thoughtful, maybe too generous. She always treated me like a little sister. Her husband, Mr. Blake, was a different presence altogether. Tall, with commanding shoulders, silver-streaked hair, and a voice so deep it made my heart pause whenever he said my name. Mr. Blake wasn't just attractive. He carried himself with quiet authority, the kind of presence that made everyone else fade. And the way he looked at me sometimes, just a moment too long, his gaze dipping just slightly lower than it should, I knew I wasn't the only one feeling something we weren't supposed to. Everything changed the night Vanessa left for a week-long work trip. The house felt too quiet, too still. I was supposed to be focused on the children and the home, but instead, I found myself wrestling with thoughts that left me restless and warm. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept turning over, wearing a robe I never had the nerve to put on before. My room was across the hall from his, and as the hours passed, I found my heartbeat quickening. Maybe it was wrong. Maybe I was imagining everything. But I couldn't ignore the longing any longer. So I walked silently down the hallway. The house was dark, the only sound was the low hum of the fridge. I stood at his door, hand trembling, and knocked once gently. For a moment I hoped he wouldn't hear it. But then the door opened slowly, and there he was, bare-chested, eyes heavy with sleep, yet focused on me. "Amber," he said, his voice husky, "is everything all right?" I swallowed, cheeks burning. "I couldn't sleep," I whispered. "Can I come in?" He hesitated. His gaze dropped briefly to the edge of my robe, then met my eyes again. His jaw tightened slightly, but he stepped aside. I walked into his room, wrapped in the scent of wood, spice, and something distinctly him. He closed the door quietly behind us. "What's wrong?" he asked. I turned toward him, heart pounding, voice soft. "I've been thinking about you," I said. "For a long time." His eyes darkened as he stepped closer. "Amber, we both know this isn't right." "I know," I breathed. "But I don't care anymore." He was so close now I could feel his warmth. His chest rose and fell slowly. His eyes searched mine, lingering. "Do you really want this?" he asked, barely above a whisper. "Yes," I said, and when he kissed me, it was with a fire that had long been building between us. It wasn't rushed or crude. It was deep, aching, full of restrained emotion finally let loose. His hands held my waist as though afraid to let go, and I clung to him, no longer resisting. He lifted me gently and carried me to the bed. My robe slipped slightly, and he looked at me as though committing every detail to memory. His kisses trailed across my neck, my shoulder, each one slow, reverent. We explored each other not with frenzy but with a desperate tenderness, like two people who had waited too long to be close. I wasn't thinking about right or wrong anymore. Only that I wanted to feel what I had been quietly yearning for. He held me all through the night. There were no words, only breath, hands, and shared silence. And in the morning, I woke wrapped in his arms, tangled in his sheets, his body curved protectively around mine. That night was the beginning. And we knew, even then, it wasn't going to stop there. We couldn't stop. I rested against his chest, his heartbeat steady beneath my cheek. For a moment, I pretended I belonged there, in his arms, in his world. But the truth slipped in like a chill. He was Vanessa's husband. My employer. A man I shouldn't have crossed a line with. But I couldn't feel regret. Not for what we shared. "You okay?" he asked, voice thick with sleep. I looked up and nodded. "Better than okay." He smiled at me, brushing my hair from my face. "I didn't expect this." "I didn't expect you," I replied. I leaned in and kissed him again, slower this time. A kiss that said we weren't done. I traced my fingers over his chest, and he closed his eyes, sighing deeply. "You're dangerous," he murmured. "No," I whispered. "I'm yours." He sat up slightly, but I placed a gentle hand on his chest, easing him back down. He knew I wanted to give him something he wouldn't forget, a feeling of being cherished, seen. And he didn't stop me. We spent the morning in soft conversation and quiet embraces. He told me things I wasn't ready to hear. About his distant marriage. About how long it had been since he had felt connected. "Vanessa and I haven't been close for a long time," he admitted. "She's always tired, always away. We barely speak anymore." I wanted to resist the pull of sympathy. But I was already too far gone. "She's lucky," I whispered. "No," he said, touching my lips. "I am." The days that followed were like a dream. By day, we acted as we should, school runs, chores, small talk. But when our eyes met, sparks flew in silence. In the laundry room, he brushed a hand down my arm. In the kitchen, he whispered that I was all he thought about. Each night, we returned to each other. In his room, under the stars by the pool, in the quiet places where no one could see. It wasn't just desire, it was something deeper, raw and complicated. Each kiss, every embrace, felt like it filled in the parts of us that had been missing for years. But fire, no matter how carefully held, always risks burning. It was Thursday morning. I was packing the kids' lunches, wearing a loose tank top. He came up behind me and kissed my neck, whispering that he needed me again. My heart raced. I smiled, full of warmth. Then we heard it. "Hey." Vanessa's voice echoed through the hall. She was early. She wasn't supposed to be back yet. She walked in with her suitcase and a tired smile, oblivious to what she'd walked into. I turned quickly, hiding my face. He stepped forward, wrapping her in a greeting. "You're back early," he said, steadying his voice. "Yeah, I thought I'd surprise you all." She turned to me. "Amber, thank you for everything." I forced a smile. "Of course." But my thoughts were racing. My hands shook. My heart pounded. The rest of the day was strained. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Vanessa hovered close, reclaiming her place with laughter and touches that once belonged to routine. I felt invisible again. That night, he came to my door, eyes conflicted but hungry. "She kissed me," he said. "And I hated it." I let him in, and though we didn't speak much, our hands found each other. We clung to the only thing that felt real. He held me like he was afraid it would be the last time. And maybe it should have been. But we went too far. And the very next day, it all unraveled. It started with his phone, left on the counter. A message from me. Words meant only for his eyes. Vanessa found it. Her face went pale. "What the hell is this?" I froze. The plate I was washing shattered in the sink. I tried to speak, but she was already storming up the stairs. "You've been with the nanny?" "Vanessa, wait, don't lie to me." Her voice broke, and I knew I had destroyed something sacred. "Get out," she said to me, trembling with rage. "Now." I left that day. He tried to follow me, but she stood between us. I packed in silence. I didn't even look back. Weeks passed. I moved into a small apartment. I found part-time work. I tried to forget the way he had made me feel like the only woman in the world. One night, my phone lit up. "She's gone," the message read. "Took the kids. Filed for divorce. I lost everything. Except the memory of you." I stared at the screen, tears brimming. I didn't reply. Because some love stories aren't meant to last forever. Some are meant to be brief, haunting, and unforgettable. Like ours.